Apple grape butter is kind of an interesting one. My sister likes to say that the butters are kind of like applesauce and jam had a baby. Well, this one I feel like really takes more after the jam side of the family. But it is delicious, and it's a great way to use my pulp from when I make apple juice. The other way that you can get your apples is by just softening them with a little bit of water on the stove. This uses 3 cups worth of pulp, which is about the amount of pulp that you'll get out of 2 pounds of apples. I begin by combining my 3 cups of apple pulp and 3 cups of grape juice in a blender. I love grape juice. This is stuff that we did off of our Concords, and oh, it's so good. And you'll notice it's pretty liquid, but that's okay because this one actually has pectin in it. I'll then measure out 5 cups worth of the puree. The rest of this I'll save for smoothies. The reason you have to measure it out is because this sets with pectin. So pectin has to have a specific amount of fruit to sugar to pectin ratio. And every pulp is going to be just a little bit different as far as how much space it takes up when you're measuring. So it's important after you puree it to go ahead and measure it. So I'll do my 5 cups of puree, 5 tablespoons of pectin, half of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and half of a teaspoon of butter. And the butter is optional, but it does reduce the foaming. I also have 7.5 cups of brown sugar pre-measured. Then I'll place this on the stove and bring it to a rolling boil. It came up to a rolling boil, and then I added the brown sugar, and so now I'm waiting for it to come back to a boil. If your brown sugar is clumping up like mine, just kind of squish it in the pan. Now that it's at a rolling boil, I'll set my timer for 1 minute, and I'll stir continuously. I'll then fill my pint-sized jars to 1/4 of an inch of headspace. That's the space from the top of the food to the top of the jar. This has such a pretty dark color to it between the brown sugar and the grape juice. I then use a clean, damp cloth to wipe off the rims. I then place my lids and rings on, fingertip tight. And everything's really hot, so I have to be careful. And I'll place these in the boiling water bath for 10 minutes at sea level. Here, 1,200 feet, I'll go for 15. Now that it's at a nice rolling boil, I'll go ahead and set my timer. Now that the timer's gone off, I'll go ahead and remove the lid and turn off the heat and allow it to cool for 5 minutes. Then I'll place the jars on a heat-resistant surface about 1 to 2 inches apart, just so that they can cool quickly. I'll leave them for 24 hours, and then after that point, I'll go ahead and remove the ring and wash them with warm soapy water. Then I'll store them in a cool, dry, dark location and use them in the next 1 to 3 years.